Dear listeners, so we are starting our second panel of the webinar. So unfortunately, we unexpectedly had some technical issues, and that's why a bit of delay. However, that will not preclude us from having our wonderful panel. And the panel 2 is devoted to ESG reporting and experience of meeting standards by business. And today with us to discuss this topic, Dr. Yılmaz Argüden, Chairman of the Governance and Regulatory Policy Committee in OECD, and the head and founder of Argüden Governance Academy. And also Mr. Servet Yildirim, Corporate Relationship Director at Coca-Cola Turkey. So the key questions for this panel will be: how can companies provide effectiveness in the ESG reporting? And also, how can investors use the information which companies provide for basically their investment decisions? And to start with, I should say that one of our speakers, namely Dr. Argüden, is indeed one of the most outstanding private sector advisors, specifically on governance. And he did one actually very considerable research, which is sustainability governance scorecards, investigation on how companies actually mark their progress in management of ESG issues. Not to delay it longer, Dr. Argüden, floor is yours, and we will be more than happy to hear in details about your research, about your initiatives which you do within Argüden Academy and maybe some other initiatives. So as before, I'm going to share the screen and show you slides. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the attendees for putting their time into this particular event, which is very interesting. Let me briefly explain what we are doing. Argüden Governance Academy is a nonprofit foundation dedicated to improve quality of governance for a sustainable future. And one of the pieces of research that we are conducting is Sustainability Governance Scorecard. And the main aim of this particular research is to help improve the state of the world by speeding up learning from peers, from good examples. Let's go to the next one, please. Slide. Okay. The Academy, as I said, is focused on governance of all types of institutions, but we will be focusing on this research, next slide, on particularly a corporate sector, how they report and how they conduct their sustainability efforts. First of all, what we are trying to do with this particular research is the following. Normally, when you look at the sustainability performance of companies, even the leaders and so forth, it is very difficult to benchmark them against each other because sustainability performance is context specific. It depends on the technology, it depends on the industry, it depends on the location, the priorities of a particular company, and so forth. Therefore, it is difficult to find appropriate benchmarks in which you can control all of these areas. However, if you look at how governance is applied to sustainability efforts, it is much more transferable across geographies, across industries, and so forth. Therefore, what we are trying to measure is the governance of sustainability efforts rather than the performance of the sustainability efforts, because the governance is transferable, we can learn from it, and so on. And our goal is to raise awareness on the SDGs, provide types of measurements on governance of sustainability, which is critical for sustainability of sustainability efforts, and provides development opportunities by sharing good examples from leading companies in the world for long-term sustainable value. Next, please. The first of all, I would like to provide a conceptual framework of most people utilize the acronym ESG for measuring sustainability or for focusing on sustainability. We feel that this particular acronym does not do justice to appropriate approach for sustainability. Here are the following reasons. First of all, when you use the acronym ESG, underlining thought process is that we have financial reporting and we have to focus on ESG matters as well, which is an adjunct. So it's not the real thing, it is the side issue, which is not true. We have to look everything as a whole. So this is why I don't like the ESG acronym, not the first reason for this. Second, in the ESG, environmental, social, and governance, are putting apples, pears, and balls into the same basket. Because governance is not a domain where you have the impact, but environment and social are, whereas you have to apply governance on all types of impacts. Therefore, putting them together minimizes the importance of governance. And actually, when most people who utilize ESG tend to see governance as, are we paying the taxes, are we protecting from anti-corruption events and so forth, but not the full range of governance, which is creating value by looking at all aspects of your decision making. So this is the second reason why I don't like ESG. The third reason is that financial is what is reflected on particular companies' finances of the economic value of the whole value chain. When you focus on the economic value created in the whole value chain, you can come up with more innovative solutions and so forth. So rather than financial, we should be using economic. Therefore, a better acronym which explains how we should be approaching these matters would be G of EES, which is governance of economic, environmental, and social impacts together. In an economist terminology, for sustainability of the companies, what we need to do is to internalize the externalities in our decision making. And we need to understand the impacts of our decisions on the economic value creation, on the environment, and in the social domain for all of our investment decisions, all of our management decisions. Therefore, Gs would provide a much better framework, understanding of what we should be doing for sustainability. So, although I'm fully aware of the fact that ESG is such a terminology that's accepted so broadly, and we have heard it so many times, I think it undermines what we need to do in the subliminal message that it provides. So we strongly suggest that we utilize Gs instead of ESG. Next, please. In this particular research, what we have done is we have evaluated about 200 companies from 7 countries in 10 industries. All of these countries' stock exchanges are part of the Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative. And the industries are comparable across these countries because certain industries are more focused on particular geographies. That's why we picked these particular 10 industries, but they make up majority of the stock exchanges capital, total capital. And it will help us learn from each other from different industries and so forth. Okay, next. And what we are doing here is we are looking at how sustainability efforts are governed by these companies and how they are reflected in their public disclosures. What types of things are we looking at? First of all, we look at the board level. Second, the sustainability performance level. At the board level, we are trying to identify whether or not the directors are providing proper guidance and oversight on decision making in the companies that has an understanding of all the impacts to stakeholders, environment, and so forth. So is the guidance and oversight that is covered reflects all these aspects. Second, we are looking at the boards. Are they publishing skill matrix? And do they have sustainability as an important skill that they are seeking in the composition of their boards. Even if they are not reporting a skill matrix, what we are doing is we are also looking at the CVs of the board members as reported in the public disclosures to see any evidence of sustainability experience. They may have sustainability experience, but if not reflected in their disclosures, obviously we cannot detect that because we can't know more than 2,000 people. But this is very important for other stakeholders and regulators and even investors to understand whether or not at the board level there is sufficient experience to look at sustainability matters in depth. And the final aspect of the board level is that is the board providing appropriate incentives to the executive team to look at things not only for their short-term financial gain, but overall sustainability matters? Are there any sustainability measures in the long-term compensation schemes of the executives? This is a board responsibility. So we are looking at the structure, okay? Whether or not it is sufficient, whether or not it is the weight is appropriate and so forth, could be evaluated by other stakeholders, other investors, if these are reported. If they are not reported, if they are not there, then you cannot make these evaluations. So we want to make sure that the reporting is transparent in these areas to make sure that people can evaluate companies and so on. The second area is the sustainability performance. How are the companies reporting their performance? Are they reporting only what they are doing well? Are they reporting only the past performance or the targets? If you don't have the targets, it is very difficult to understand whether or not you are moving in the right direction. You're just reporting what you've done well. Why? What kind of KPIs are you using? What is the scope of the implementation? Is it only your own factories, or are you really focused on the whole value chain? Are you, how about your, you're maybe making investments in your factories, but how about your purchasing power? Purchasing decisions, do they consider things like no child labor, how your suppliers are being chosen? Because when you're buying something, you definitely look at the quality and price, but you should also be looking at how they are produced, because the price might be low because they are undermining some major sustainability issues. So this is the scope of implementation we are looking. And are they reporting results, and are they evaluating results versus targets? If they are behind their own determined targets, what kind of remedies are they taking? Is there any explanation of this? How are they tying these issues with the SDGs? Which are the material SDGs for this particular company? Has there been such a materiality evaluation which involves the stakeholders and so on? So as you can see, the types of questions that we are trying to find answers from public disclosures are applicable regardless of industry, regardless of geography, regardless of company, and therefore good examples in these areas could speed up peer learning on a global scale and will help a better sustainable future by helping this learning. So the sustainability journey involves purpose, value creation model, which involves all the impact areas, materiality and stakeholder engagements, which includes double materiality. It includes establishing targets for the whole supply chain to the extent that you can influence them. And is there any learning and development from what you are doing well and what you are not doing sufficiently well so that you can improve this area? Next, please. Basically, what we are saying is that we have to shift our understanding for sustainability. We have to focus on sustainability by looking at the environmental, social, and economic impact of our decisions. We need to adapt a holistic, integrated approach. We have to implement continuous improvement in all of these areas by measuring. If you don't measure, you don't improve. And we have to have fact-based impact analyses on particularly material issues so that we can identify what is needed to be done. And we need to share our targets transparently for others to be able to understand where we are in our sustainability journey. Next, please. Okay, The results is that we basically, out of these 200 companies, we divide them into 5 tiers. The best tier, first top 20th percentile, next 20th percentile, and so forth. And what we see that South Africa and Germany has more number 1 and 2 tiers than 50%. And China and Turkey are lower on the scale when we compare across countries. Next, please. Similarly, what we see is that by industry, industries that are more regulated or their investment horizons are longer, such as natural resources requires a longer investment horizon, or are facing consumers who are more putting pressure on the sustainability matters, such as consumer goods and so forth, have better performance than other industries, such as machinery and equipment, which is C2C, and it is not as observable and there isn't as much regulatory pressure on. So regulatory pressure, consumer pressure, focus on these matters has an impact on how companies and how industries perform. This is an important message as well. Next, please. Another finding of our research is that voluntary measures such as UN Global Compact, utilizing integrated reporting, or measures as SASP or GRI, these are all voluntary up till this point. Pretty soon they will become mandatory, I guess. But those companies who have adapted these voluntary initiatives are performing better because they are learning from their peers and they are further in their sustainability journey than others. So these are very important lessons that we see come to see from our research. Next, please. Although our research is publicly available at argüdenacademy.org and has lots of good examples, we are not going to be able to cover all of them in this short period of time. I would like to share a couple of examples. Next, please. For example, skill matrix. Next. Next, okay, yeah. For example, what we see that is publication of skills matrix is increasing over the years, which is very good because this was one of the things that we have suggested. And as a matter of fact, a few years ago when we visited the Indian Stock Exchange, they were quite interested in it, and now they regulated this to be published. And I think that publication really helps, and also including sustainability as an important skill helps boards focus on this area. Next, please. And in our report, we provide some examples. For example, this one shows the diversity level of experience of general management and technical capabilities with a sustainability skill as an important skill, with a breakdown into governance and compliance, environmental sustainability, and health and safety, and identify each board member, how much experience they have in each of these areas. I think this provides a very good look into the board skill in this particular company. Next, please. Okay. This one provides with specifying each member's collective experience, includes comprehensive diversity pillars and specific policies, and it's a very good format as well. By sharing these formats from good examples, we would like to help other companies formulate how they report on their own boards as well. Next, please. Okay. The other finding that we provide is that global sustainability leaders focus more on sustainability KPIs, and whereas only 12% link their performance criteria to environmental KPIs, and even fewer on the governance KPIs, which means that this understanding of the importance of governance for the sustainability of sustainability efforts has a long ways to improve, even among the best companies, who all of these companies have made it in their sustainability indices in their relevant stock exchanges. So they are among the best in their stock exchanges, but even them have room for improvement in these areas. Next, please. So how they tie sustainability measures with executive compensation are reported. Some of the good examples are reported as well. I'm not going to go into detail. Next, please. But with thresholds and targets and stretch measures, as well as achievement for each area is reported, which gives you a very clear indication of what this particular company is focusing on, how their executives are motivated, and how are they performing, which gives you a very good understanding for whether or not you want to make investments in this company, how to regulate, what you can learn from those companies, and so forth. The other area is the sustainability performance area. Next slide, please. Here, what we see is that there's a positive trend toward adapting SDGs compared to previous years, although there is room for improvement, particularly in setting targets. They are reporting what they are doing and sharing their results, but in setting targets and sharing their targets lags what they are sharing. Therefore, there is room for this learning experience, setting targets, and so forth. But it's a good journey that they have started, and more companies are tying what they are doing with SDGs. This is important for the sustainability of the world. Next, please. One of the things that we see is that culture plays an important role as well. For example, in terms of their policies and strategy alignment with sustainability, some countries perform, most companies perform well. But how about results with respect to their strategy? Are they reporting their targets and results with respect to their policies? That is lagging, particularly in China and Turkey, and Germany is much more it's much more aligned with their strategy. Results alignment with strategy is better. So this is an important message as well. You should not only have policies that you present, but also you should present your targets and results and explain the gaps for people to have more confidence in your efforts. Next, please. And similarly, when there are, for example, what we saw was natural resources and consumer goods were focusing more. However, the gaps between their strategies and their result alignment is higher in those particular industries because they are under more scrutiny, either by regulators or consumers. They incorporate wonderful policies, but they have more room for improvement in terms of their result alignment. Next, please. Most commonly embraced SDGs are reported here. Once again, governance, which is 16, is the least adapted SDG. Again, it tells us that governance is something that we need to focus more on, and it has to be all encompassing all the impacts and so forth. And particularly, SDG 16 requires collective action to improve the climate, or not the environmental climate, but the cultural climate in the country. And that can only be accomplished by a collective action. Therefore, we need more movement in that area, clearly. Next, please. So basically, in this journey, what we are after is not where their performance is, but how much they are learning. Are they improving from one year to another year? Are they learning from their peers? And are they sharing their learnings for others to learn as well? This is important in our research, what we are focusing on that as well. Next, please. One of the key things is that publishing a materiality metrics is very important, and it is increasing, definitely, from one year to another. But what it covers is important as well. Sharing materiality metrics is lower than sharing some issues in a vernacular manner and so forth. So basically, by showing these statistics and providing good examples from these particular companies, we try to promote a more systemic approach to public disclosures in this area as well. Yes, please. Next. Clearly, third-party assurance is lagging as well. That's another area that improves confidence and trust for these institutions. So both the getting third-party assurance as well as the number of dimensions in which you get that assurance and conducting impact analysis will make what you are doing in sustainability efforts much more transparent and much more dependable. Next, please. In a nutshell, what we are suggesting is that governance needs to be applied to all the decisions, key decisions of the companies, with analysis of the impacts on the economy, on the whole value chain, on the environment, and on the social domain, not only your short-term financial gains. So GEES is a more appropriate acronym for improving sustainability. Next. And for this, we need to shift our understanding of how we look at these efforts, not only identifying and cherry picking what we are doing fine, but we are focusing on sustainability in a holistic approach and focusing on continuous improvement by measuring and with fact-based analysis and sharing our targets so that we will be more trustworthy. Please follow us on our social media. We are sharing a lot of results on governance in other aspects as well, not only this particular one. Next, please. Okay, we have lots of publications. All of them are freely available, and particularly the Sustainability Governance Scorecard is a close to 200-page report, which includes lots of good examples that people can learn from. Next, please. And we have quite a few collaboration efforts, both with global institutions. Next. And we particularly appreciate our sponsors for us to be able to conduct this particular research. Next, please. And I wish to thank you. Please take a copy of this page, where you can reach our research over the years as well as the latest one, and help your learning with this particular research. And we appreciate Aluminum for helping us share this information. What we are trying to do is basically public good, improving global learning on how to conduct governance of sustainability efforts. Thank you.